Today is the City Council Finance Subcommittee, October 14th, 6 p.m. here in Payson. First item of business is minutes. We have several minutes.
Minutes for the 27th, the 10th, the 24th IL.
Okay. Councilor Riss said the next meeting is going to provide minutes from the 27th and the 10th.
24th.
Excuse me, the 24th and the 20th.
Not listed here, but it is one that's
Right,
listed.
May 27th, and not listed as June 24th. Those are Councilor Riss, I'll put an R for those. I took the minutes on the 10th of June and August 12th, which I'll provide at the next meeting. And we already have Councilor Riss' May 26th meeting minutes. We have the minutes. He did
send them, I did.
disseminate the minutes, but I don't think we ever approved them. So we can take that at the next meeting too. That way you'll have a chance to read that. Mayor's communication.
Fill that out so I spell your
I'm
name
all
right.
set.
Mayor's all set. Public speak. Anyone here? Public that wants to speak. New business. I'd like to go out of order. I know Laurie Stewart's here.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Laurie Stewart's here from the assessors, and I wanted to,
Thank you.
have a pleasant first experience here.
We're not as mean as we seem to be in the interview.
And since
We want Lori back tomorrow.
What, we want to jump to the assessors?
yeah, we're going to jump to the assessors first, because Joe's got several items, and hopefully the assessors maybe we can.
Are we,
Oh, that little sign-in sheet? Oh, thank you, Lori.
let's talk about dates. Or what do
Yeah.
you want to do with them?
Yeah, again, what we usually do is the assessor provides us with the, what their recommendations are. I'm sure the board, and I see the board's here represented today, provides us with this information, and then we generally have any questions we can ask. If there's questions people have now, because generally we break it down a little bit in, I don't know if it's in here, business and percent of business, I think is,
Yep.
we do have on the second page, looks like.
There's also there's a chart that's on one of the pages that goes through it, and it's percentage-wise and dollar-wise.
Is that just one that says fiscal?
Nope.
No,
There's
next one.
This here, Dan.
Too many pages.
This one.
There we go.
There it is, okay.
Minimum residential factor computation.
Yep.
And did the board already vote? Let's go back to the first page.
First page looks like everybody
This is your
signed
vote
it.
that you, you vote today? Must have
This
voted
morning.
today, because it's, I see the date is today. So. Okay, I mean, I don't know if the counselors have questions now that they want to ask the assessor, or, I mean, anyway, we have to have a public hearing on this. So, I mean, I certainly have no problem setting the public hearing at the next council meeting. We will have one subcommittee meeting probably between, so we can, if you have other questions, we can get the, I don't want to necessarily bring the assessor back in or the board back in, but certainly any questions tonight, and if we have questions, we can certainly ask them to come back or send them the questions before the meeting.
I have two questions.
Sure, go ahead.
Peter, the single tax rate, no open space discount, no residential exemption, no small commercial exemptions. These have been constant for years.
Yes.
Was there ever a debate in your meeting to change anything? Was there any discussion about it?
Not really, because of the size. And this is a little different what Lori's put in here than has been in the past, but it shows where our size is, in the percentage-wise.
Size of the community.
Size of the community, and what the 87% of it is residential, and 13 of it is commercial, industrial, and personal property. We're not in a large situation, for example, for the commercial aspect of it. Such as Holyoke, they have the double whatever the residential is and everything. There's a lot of larger industry there.
So to have two rates for business or commercial and residential
Right.
doesn't make sense because it's only 6% or 7% of the
Right,
total.
if it was 25% or greater in that respect, it would be.
Okay.
The small business exemption, we have a lot of small businesses in town, and it would be great to help them, but the small businesses don't own the property.
Okay.
The landlord would get the benefit, not the small business, so
You
it
got
really
it.
doesn't help the small
So
business.
if you're renting a space, it's going to be the
Exactly, you got
landlord
three,
renting that
yeah,
space.
you got 3 employees, whatever, so you qualify, but you don't get the benefit.
I want to make it clear to everybody in the room, I wasn't ever suggesting we change anything.
No.
I just know that we kind of glance over this every year.
Right.
And now I've got good reasons if someone asks, why don't we have 2 rates?
This
It's
is
an
the
excellent
review
reason.
period, Dan,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Well,
The other thing about the chapter land, it's considered commercial property.
mhm.
So if we did change that, it would nullify it. You know, there's no savings. And the open space, we don't have it. You know, we don't tax it. So,
Okay.
What is
my-
open space, Peter? What would be, in other words, what would be,
well, we don't have any taxes on it. The open space is what,
Non-developable?
Yeah.
yeah,
No
And
frontage?
anything that's not in chapter land or that it's not preserved somehow is some cities classify as open space rather than just vacant land.
So it could be developable land, but
well.
then would be classified open space.
Right. It's, you know, there's like land that would be like the right-of-ways, you know, type of stuff, things that we have, the Piscata Trust stuff.
Yeah.
The thing that comes down from Park Hill Orchards through, you know, down to West Street that the city, you know, was involved with. And anything that's in chapter.
Mhm.
Anything that's in chapter.
but this,
Sorry,
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask my second part of the question. You're coming from a smaller community, but is anything of different for you on what we normally do? All of these exemptions and different rates. You expected them, and you certainly agree with them.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty much across the board, and like Peter said, unless you have a big commercial base.
Unless you have a real balance between
Yeah.
commercial. Okay.
So the open space discount would be, we're taxing people who have developable land, and you're saying this would be a discount, different discount, right?
Yeah, but it would get taken, if you give that discount, then it would get taken up with the residential, because it has to stay within the class.
Mhm.
So if they got the discount, the residential property.
Would have to pay more.
Yes.
They'd have to pick up the slack, so it would actually put a bigger burden on
Yes.
residential.
Yes.
If the councilors, do you have?
Do you
oh, go ahead.
just a quick
Oh,
question.
absolutely.
Do you know why chapter land is considered part of the commercial? Just as a,
It's the statute.
Right.
Yeah.
Statutory.
It's in
That's a
producing.
statutory decision.
To be in 61A, you have to produce an income. So
Right.
producing an income.
makes it
makes
commercial, so that's why it falls into the commercial. So if you do have chapter land and you adopt a split rate,
Right.
it's going to be,
It's going to be taxed like the factories.
certainly we're not in a position, like Hoyoke is in a position to have some captured
Well,
commercial resources.
Their whole mill district
Yeah.
down there, and you know, it makes sense. Or West Springfield,
Right.
or Westfield,
Right.
you know, because of their base. You know,
Here
our
with
large-
6%, it doesn't make any sense
Right.
at this point to do a split rate.
Right. Well,
You
at that
don't.
point, it's not even 6. It's what is commercial industrial?
So you're
Yeah.
up to 13.
9, 10?
Commercial, industrial, 9, 10,
Yeah, 6.7%, and then the
With personal,
industrial is 3.
13.
The big company is 3%. So, you know.
I don't know if we've ever had a presentation like this before, and I compliment you on this. I don't remember one.
Not this thorough, I mean, we.
This is very thorough, thank you.
It's different. It's different.
Certainly appreciate that.
So what are our deadlines on this? When do you need this public hearing done for tax purposes or any other reason, Melissa? Sorry.
Lori's ready to set the tax rate. I think we're ready on our side too, so.
We could
you
set a
know, I mean,
public
I know
hearing
that,
at the next
Betty
meeting for
wants
the
to
next meeting.
Get the tax bills out, you know,
Right.
you have the chance to go
To
through,
get 'em
balance them. fix
Instead of
any-
last minute.
So first meeting in November?
I'll set at the next meeting, next week, I'll set a public hearing for, I think it's November 4th, I'm guessing. I'm trying to-
The first is a Monday, yes.
Is it the 4th or is that 3rd?
Well, the first
I
meeting in
understand.
November. 'cause
Wait,
we have-
what's the
we have
elections
one
are on
more
too?
in October meeting, right?
Yeah, but we have to.
Right, but at that meeting, I'll
announce-
set it for the
We have to have
So the
council.
public hearing be the first one in November.
This is
November
the
4th.
Wednesday?
So I'll set a public hearing next week for the actual public hearing in front of the full council will be November 4th.
Will you be able to attend, Lori? And Peter, I know you always go.
Okay.
And I'll leave this, we won't vote on this tonight from the subcommittee because we'll have another subcommittee meeting in 2 weeks. And that way, if either councilors have any or myself have more additional questions, you can go directly to Laurie or Peter and and hopefully get the answers, and then we can, if there's anything else, we can approve it in subcommittee next meeting, and then we'll have it next. Because again, I'd like to go through the document, because it is thorough, and I don't want to take the time to read it all now.
No, and as Dan picked up, it is a little different than it has been in
Right,
the
in the
past,
past.
and I think it's a little more clear of what's happening, and shows some other options that weren't shown in the past, and that's on Lori.
I think it's a lot easier to follow.
Yeah, it seems, I'm just, it might,
know,
just flipping through it
It was
quickly.
not
It's
as cumbersome.
a little more common sense.
All
I
these
guess.
issues here, thank you.
Okay, Laurie, that's it. As I said, if any counselors certainly might contact you over the next couple of weeks with questions or whatever, and hopefully November 4th we'll have the full meeting. You won't have to come back to the next subcommittee meeting unless, counselors have questions that they feel they need to bring you or Peter back for. So. Okay?
Yep, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Hope
you.
you're
Thank you,
enjoying
Lori.
your job.
Oh, I am, thanks.
All right.
Thanks for bumping me up here.
Thanks,
Thanks for
Peter.
the time.
It was great to
Okay,
see you.
Peter.
Bye-bye.
Oh, now we have to deal with Joe. Jeez. Such a hard guy to deal with. So, 30.
So our first item is a pickup truck of $30,000.
Right.
Which, Joe, I guess you can explain, this looks like it's a water to public works vehicle, capital funding for replacement of water division. That's why it's coming out of enterprise. And you're replacing unit 41, but that's gonna stay with the department. Is this an extra vehicle, or?
Well, what'll happen is Unit 41 now is a 2006, got 120,000 miles on it. And it's a frontline service vehicle. And if we continue using it as a frontline service vehicle, maybe get one more year out of it, then it's gonna be dead. But if we buy another vehicle, we can move that one down to a secondary role and probably have it for another 3-4 years or so. And in the meantime, we can get rid of one of the police cruisers that are down there and move it back to, say, the 50 Payson for the inspector's use. So we're kind of doing the vehicle shuffle here.
So trading it in isn't dire.
No.
Well,
This
it's
is more
valuable to
valuable for
us.
us to keep
Valuable to us.
it.
Right, and if I may touch on that issue, it's like Lori just left, but we have a real issue here for vehicles. As you know, when, please, but we have, our assessor's office, data collector needs a vehicle to do the data collection every day. Building inspector's office, 2 inspectors in there, need a vehicle to do their inspections. What they've been doing is borrowing the Pilot that is supposed to be for my use, which I've been sharing with them for many years, but it also is to be able to be used for, well, it's supposed to be used for any meetings, and I also would like to share it with all the departments, if any of us have to go to Boston for the day, so the Honda Pilot that we have, first of all, if I need it, I have to make a reservation like a month ahead of time. And so
Even though it's your car?
yeah, so we have a real shortage and, and a scheduling problem. So when Joe, obviously, as you can see, every vehicle we have gets, if it's of any use at all, gets recycled and sent down and down and down. And at the end of the crop, that's what we're getting.
So
So, but
many
we're
miles
happy to
on the
have it,
police vehicle.
because
Well-
think of it, it only goes,
Right.
what our inspectors are doing, they might get from here to your house, here to your house, or then back to your house. So it's not getting the use that the heavy duty use that it would get. But in the meantime, it's saving our other vehicles and saving our vehicles for the need.
Well, we have 2 police cruisers now, old police cruisers. And I have to say, they're kind of bulletproof. So
They keep on?
No pun intended.
they keep on going. So if we take them out of the role that we're using down in the water department and bring them here, again, it's in a lesser role, so they take their life out a little bit further. And also it'll allow for a little more flexibility here when they have to juggle people around and move people around.
I have a stupid question. We paint these, right? They don't say police on them.
No.
See Lori driving around the cruiser.
No, they're actually white.
We used to have a cruiser here that the assessor's office
Yes,
used,
we
right?
did.
Where
Yes,
that-
we
did
did.
that just-
Exactly. You've been here a
Right, I
long time,
remember
if you know
that.
that.
I remember that.
And we took that off the road when somebody steered one way and the vehicle went the other. And that
That got it.
literally
Besides
just about
chicken.
came off the frame, right, Joe?
Yeah, with the frame.
So, but
That
they used
ended.
that for years.
Right, I remember
You
that.
know, and we just don't have anything like that. And you know, as you know, we utilize anything we have. So it's very valuable to us. And, you know, I'm actually glad they're left because they don't know about this, so they're gonna be really excited to think that they're going to. And again, they're not getting a vehicle per person. This is a vehicle to basically share with two people in the assessor's office. Because Lori goes out and does inspections. You have
Building
the
inspector.
data collector goes out and does the inspections. I have a local inspector and a building commissioner. So that's 4 people. That's just 4 people in just those 2 departments. But also, you know, we need vehicles for our other departments to be using.
Okay.
Question, if there weren't a vehicle, and there isn't a vehicle, mileage?
Yeah, they put
Well,
it
it's
for
by law, we have to pay a mileage, of course.
What's the current rate?
50 cents.
50.
But they don't want to use their vehicles for that. And you know, you can't blame them. Especially people that have been able to get, you know, they're pretty much upset by it. Especially people that, you know, just bought a new vehicle. They don't feel like putting their miles on that, you know, 50 cents.
Especially if it's leased.
Exactly. But it's true.
A lot of people
And what's
do.
happening is we have one vehicle that is split in so many different ways. You know, I wanted to go to, well, I did go to MSBA with the superintendent and Melissa. We had to reserve the vehicle 2 weeks ahead of time. That's the only time I even will use it. So any meetings I go to, anything I do, I use my own vehicle, other than if I'm going to Boston. And same thing with your department, Jessica's department, our auditor, our HR director, you know.
You need more than one vehicle down there.
Well.
I mean, I'm saying
in
you
here.
need 2 more besides
I
yours.
know, I know. But
Anyway.
I think this will be a pleasant surprise for them. I think they'll be extremely happy. They don't know about it.
I'm certainly good for this.
This one I'm not, the only thing I would, and this isn't really just with this one, but with the other 2, one thing I'd like to see, Joe, and again, I know it puts extra, it shouldn't be too much though, is with the, maybe it's a little my own fault, but with between the water department, the sewer department, the highway department, I guess if we could get an inventory maybe at the next meeting or before we approve these for what your vehicles are. I know like a lot of
I have
times.
the fleet schedule in
Okay,
my
if we could get
office.
that, because I know like the police always come in and they say, we got this, and this with this many miles. And
Right.
just so that we have it, like when we're talking, you know,
Right.
Unit 41 going in Unit 42, I get, you know, it'd just be nice to be able to refer to.
Well,
it.
do you want the whole fleet schedule, or do you just want the DP, you know, like when it pertains to the vehicle?
I
Because the
think
I
fleet
think it
is
would
kept
help to
in
be
my
able to
office.
understand.
I think the whole fleet schedule would be good,
Okay.
because I know we transfer them around, like we took, when we
Yes.
got Joe a new car, we
Yep.
got that, gave it to
Yep.
the meter, or the
Right.
water meters, and
Yep.
kind of keep it, so if you could provide that, Mayor, at the
Oh,
next
that'd be,
meeting.
I'll put a note, but yeah, I'd be happy to.
I
So
just think it
I'll
would be
give you a
easier when we're
copy.
sitting here talking about vehicles that
I'll
we
give you a
could.
actually what I'll do, I'll make a note tomorrow, and I'll just put a copy of the fleet schedule in all the counselors' spots.
Sure, that's
Or,
fine.
you know, or do you just want it for finance?
Well, you know, I mean, all the councilors gonna
To
have
you.
it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a waste if they don't want it, but, you know,
Why don't
obviously.
you just start with the
does.
finance, and I'll provide it
Right,
for them.
okay.
They have.
I'd be happy to
I
do
don't see
it.
any reason not to vote on this,
Well, we gotta set a public hearing, so we can keep them all open if we have questions. I mean, again, I don't have a problem with this one. I don't have a problem with this one.
though. I don't have any questions on any of these, it's just a matter of explanation.
So,
As usual, Joe gives a pretty good explanation. I mean, I don't disagree with having the fleet schedule.
Right.
You have an understanding of the total picture, that's great.
The fleet schedule is not going to
I
tell,
don't
it's
see
gonna
any-
tell you the make, model, VIN number, it's not gonna tell you how many miles are on it, but it's broken
It'll tell
down
you-
by
I'll
department.
tell you the year.
It'll tell you,
Tell
right,
you
the
the
make,
year.
model, the year, the VIN number, and what department, they're broken
How
down by
hard is it to get the
department.
miles on each of those?
I
I think that's what they want.
I get the miles on mine fairly easily.
Well, that's what I'm saying, just while we're going through, just so that, you know, we'll get at, someone can ask. I mean, I know you always
You mean
provide them, Joe, with
yours, your
your,
department.
My department.
you always provide them when you're coming for a vehicle, which
Right.
Right,
it'll be
on the-
nice to kind of just
on the
watch,
explanation.
again, how the rest of the fleet is, or what else you got.
Well, can I move that we approve this? Or-
JP started to comment about whether he wanted to, and again, it's up to you, JP. if
Well,
you-
if we're not gonna deal with it until the next meeting, until the next full council meeting,
a public hearing, you have to schedule a public hearing.
Yeah, I'll definitely schedule a
So
public
at the
hearing,
first meeting in November, they were
Right,
going to
right.
vote.
so we can leave these open for other questions.
I have no problem leaving it open.
Because we got all three of them, and we'll leave them open at,
I think that would give us some additional information.
in that way, if we have questions of Joe, we haven't really
Right.
made a full final. I mean, I don't see where these are gonna be a problem, it's just a matter of getting a full explanation. But, I mean, I don't have any more, anyone have any more questions on this one, this
I don't think so.
30,000 at this time? Okay, moving on to the 46-2 replacement. This one's a little more confusing because I think it's more for the motor repair, Joe, and,
Yeah.
and some goes back, some is being funded by water and sewer because that's part of their, like we do with the assessors or the treasurer's job.
That's
or
correct. It's
whatever.
part of it. We use the same formula in funding this one that we do with the other offsets. And this vehicle is used by the motor repair division to move around and go out. They'll get a call, go out and repair a piece of equipment out on the road or go pick up parts or something like this. And the idea here is to replace this vehicle. And this vehicle's a 2002 and it's only got about 78,000, so it's pretty decent two-wheel drive pickup. But the idea is to send it to the Parks and Rec because I understand Parks and Rec is looking for a two-wheel drive vehicle.
They're in desperate need and needed one last year. They're in desperate need of a vehicle.
So this vehicle, the new vehicle would be a four-wheel drive, which would make it a lot easier to go in the middle of the night to repair the snow blower or a snow plow that's been broke down out on, Wonderwood Street, say, than to try to fight your way out there with a two-wheel drive. The one, Unit 25, we actually bought that used, and it was something that, well, we needed something at the time, but this is a pretty good price, we bought it. We made it work, but a four-wheel drive and the toolboxes set up on it is actually what the mechanics need on it. And in the meantime, this gets reassigned to another division or another department that can use something exactly like this.
I noticed on the specs, there's a $3,000 gate lift, is that, so they pick heavy, I assume is that like a hydraulic? That thing that drops down?
Right,
and you can-
that's a hydraulically operated tailgate, so that can come down to the ground, they can roll some parts on there or something and pick it up
Pick it
and
up,
put it
on
in
there.
bed. and
Is that one on that current vehicle? Or
No,
that-
it's not.
So that's another,
That's
would help them
That's
out.
an addition, so if they're out on the road and they gotta pick up something, put it on the truck, you gotta get it, now you gotta get a loader out there to pick it up and put it on the truck, whereas this way, it's
So in the past, you had to use a loader to put it on to Unit 25.
right,
So this is an obvious improvement and it leads to efficiency in the operation.
absolutely.
Because now you can probably do this with one or two
One or
guys and
two
not have
guys.
three guys
3 or 4.
bring a loader from
Right.
someplace else.
Right.
no, that's, again, I think
It helps
that's.
park and rent.
Right. No, again, those were you come up with these questions, because, I mean, again, the public, when they see close to $50,000 for a truck, they're gonna be saying, what are we getting? And then that's why I assume that's what it's for, and it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense you have a lift, I mean, I don't. JP, you have any?
Just a thought about the fleet and understanding the fleet and how the charges are broken up for general fund, sewer, and water. So if we had. I think
That's
the
a
information on
complicated
the fleet.
formula
I know.
that the auditor spends a lot of time on, and that's the way things are budgeted also. So that is the percentage formula of how things are used.
Because this isn't a dedicated vehicle to just highway.
No,
It's a vehicle that's going to be used by all the divisions.
correct.
Because motor repair has to go to fix any vehicle in any of your divisions, whether it's wastewater, water, highway,
Police,
police.
fire,
Oh, really?
yes.
So any city vehicle, they go out, if it's something within their.
That makes
realm.
sense. So that's why you charge it the way you do.
Right.
When you say general fund, that's not enterprise then?
No.
That's the general
Or
fund.
free cash.
And you're using free cash?
Things are city
Oh,
side.
this lends me to did we get certified for free cash?
Yes. That's why you'll see these are out of free cash.
I know, I didn't know what was the certification.
Well, I'll just give you a copy so you'll have it. I'll grab a copy for you. So you have it. Was like 90, under a million, 9,665, whatever. I'll just grab you a copy, so you
Okay,
have
I'd
it.
like to hear that. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
I
we'll
didn't
have it.
realize, I thought it was always certified in November for some reason. I don't know.
Well, Val does her reporting as early as it's ready.
And
That's the next
therefore,
meeting, yeah.
they get back to us earlier.
Well, no, they get back to you, if you don't do it until November, you're not gonna hear until
Okay.
December, but, you know, Val likes to, once she knows there's nothing else going to come in, she waits for, you know, grant reimbursements to come in, but once she realizes they're not gonna come in on time, then she just goes ahead and does it.
Okay.
So,
Well, I like the efficient use of the vehicle. You want to hold this one?
Yeah, again, we'll hold this one in case we have any other questions, again, only because there's a lot of specs here, and, but just before we get into the specs, it's not like you, well, let me just go through, like, if you said you wanted no power locks and power doors, I'm just not saying you do or don't. I mean, certainly the power door is gonna make sense, because you, but these are packages, so you can't like necessarily, I noticed you took like the CD player out. There was a CD player.
You got
but they-
$42 for it. That was good. Yeah.
But you can't necessarily take all these items
No,
out.
you can't. What they do is they buy these things as a fleet
Hundreds of them.
under, you know, these are the specs. You know, Liberty Chevrolet might buy 50 of them, and these are the specs that they buy. This is what's included in every one of these. So they get a better deal on them because they're buying 50 of them, so we get a better deal on them too. But if you want to add something to it, they'll always add it to it. But that's the basic specs.
because these are,
Where did you see that he
these are the
removed
bids,
it?
contracts.
At the very last page,
This is one of the
very
top
back,
bids,
there's
right?
one
Oh,
it does say like,
Delete
delete
CD
CD player, $42.
Poor guys, they gotta listen to the radio.
But, you know, I'm sure you already know that, Dan,
Taxpayers'
but these are bids.
Bids, right, state
So
offer.
they have the contract bids.
Yes.
To be
So I
honest
figured
with
they
you,
were
if you had
packaged.
to pull out the
Right.
power locks,
It would-
whatever,
it'd cost
you'd have
more.
to pay more
No,
than
I wasn't
what
suggesting we
Frank's
pull it
doing.
out. I was just saying,
I
do
know.
we have the option to do it? And I believe going through these in the feds, we haven't really.
I think you have the option of looking at a different package.
You could look at a different,
And
right.
other vehicles that may be offered
Right.
through the same program or another program?
This is
it
the way
just
they're
Liberty-
on- this
Is
is-
Liberty the only program?
No, you can go through MHQ with a Ford.
Right.
These happen to be Chevrolet.
Right.
Right, so
And-
there are other you could choose another program.
Right.
You
Right,
can
it might
choose
have-
another make. Now, I think what Joe's trying to explain to you is this is their bid package. This is the way it comes. If you're looking for the Chevrolet, they get a fleet of these. This is how they go. You know, if you want to go and order your own Chevrolet or vehicle, it would be much more expensive than this, and you would probably could get less options, but it wouldn't just
necessarily be.
right. These are bid specific. These are specs specifically for
And-
municipalities.
Right, and the other thing too is that by expecting them different, you might end up waiting 3 or 4 months, possibly more. for that
That'd be
vehicle.
special.
And these, they have them right there.
This is just an aside, Joe. It seems like most of your vehicles, you tend to buy Chevrolet, and then yet we get the police in here, and they always go through all the things and say they always want to buy a Ford. And I was just wondering, and
Different
this is just for my own curiosity,
Yeah.
why is it just,
Our
you're-
pickups, we've had very good luck with
just
the
because
Chevrolets.
you've had them?
Very good luck with the Chevrolets. The police cruisers and the Explorers.
No, I know they always come in and say they.
Good luck with those,
they
so,
always have
you know,
Right, so that's-
stick with what you know.
It's a type of, it's a different.
It's
different
apples and
vehicles.
oranges.
Right.
I mean,
I understand that, Dan. I just wondered why, like,
Yeah.
it seems like, well, it's just, kind
Well,
of.
you know. Okay, I tend to buy the same type of
And I
vehicles once
think
I like
the
them.
other
Once you like
thing,
them,
Dan,
they
too-
Work out well, good.
The other thing, Dan, too, if you look at actually, you know, to who they're contacting, like on the top of the, you know, the contract number, it says Roofier, but that's Dennis Roofier.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, he takes a huge part, him and Rick, who are the ones that fix the vehicles. They take a huge part in speccing what they feel the use is, and, you know, they really take a very involved part in it, and what they feel best serves the department and what they like working on.
Well, plus I can also see when a vehicle gets older, you know, maybe you can pick a little here and put it over here.
Well,
Whereas
exactly.
if you're going across vehicle
Exactly.
lines, it makes it a little
Using
tougher.
the cab, they've done that before, using the.
Use a chassis or
Yes.
whatever. You know, again, I'm not a mechanic, but use it.
And what parts
Exactly.
they have in stock and all that other stuff.
Right.
Okay, so again, again, I'll leave it open, so if counselors between now and the 4th, but I'll set a public hearing, so we'll get that one done. And then the last one is a $47,000, another truck.
Right.
This one is just for water?
This one's in the water department. But what's driving this one here is that we have, in wastewater, we had a 1992 Chevy half-ton in water that we purchased used that died on us. It's parked. And so they're short one vehicle at the wastewater treatment plant. So by replacing this vehicle, the old 47 will be transferred down to the wastewater treatment plant with the plow, so that now they can plow their yard down there, and they have a decent vehicle. Again, it won't receive the same use at the wastewater treatment plant that it does at the water department. So this truck is still in pretty good shape. It's got 115,000 miles on it, but if we send it down to the wastewater treatment plant now, we might get another 3 or 4 years out of it very easily. So again, it's the vehicle shuffle that we do.
And this is gonna be with a plow, I assume, is
That's right.
plowing mostly water.
This will be used exclusively.
What do you plow, I
To
guess?
plow
I guess maybe I'll ask.
the water pump stations, the water department yard, up to the water tanks, things like that they need access to. Especially during a snowstorm, if they have to get to the pump station during a snowstorm, we're not asking the highway guys to break away from plowing the roads. They've got their own truck where they can go in there and do it.
And then this spring, you just take the plow
Take
off
the
and
plow
use
off.
it as
And we can still pull a trailer with it if we need to pull a skid steer or something.
Again, this is a package.
This is a package.
I have one question on that.
Delete CD player.
Joe's not the one with those CD players. Is this the one or the other one? Oh, my other question was, I noticed, and we can go back a little, that's why we keep them open. The 30,000 in this one, you seem to be buying 2015s, and I think the one we just looked at was the 2016. I was wondering if there was a reason, if there was no 2015 available, was the 2016 just as cheap? Or
The price really doesn't change from the 15 to the 16. So it might be the fact that they didn't have
one?
they didn't have one, and by the time we go to buy it, the 2015 may not be a 2015, maybe a 2016, because they don't have the 15s anymore. But the price
Will
will
be
be.
Keep the price if it's a
They
2016?
will.
I just happened to notice, I saw one was a 2016, the other two were 2015. I didn't know if they ran out of one, because they looked somewhat similar, these two.
So assuming council approves these on the 4th of November, how long does it take to get these?
We could probably have them
Before winter?
within a month.
That's
That's
good. So you
good.
get them for December 1st?
Oh, yeah.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. I mean, I'm assuming some of this stuff, especially like the plow, would be valuable to have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there was one question, maybe it's on the one we dealt with before. It was just a question I had, I'm sure you have an explanation for it on it was like spray painting it was
the bed.
$1,000 extra to...
Striping?
No.
No, it was like a...
Is
it this one?
It's a spray-on bed liner.
No, it wasn't that.
I saw that.
What are you looking
One, it was
I
like to spray the chassis to the... It was $1,000, I remember that, so I'm looking for a...
Not was it the safety
stuff?
striping?
No, okay, paint utility, yes. Yes, on the second one, Joe, that we just got done with.
All
It
right.
says,
That's
the
unit-
paint utility body to match cab, $1,000.
That's correct, because
So
what we're not
if we went
buying,
with two colors, could we...
well, we're not buying a complete pickup truck here, we're buying a cab and chassis, and then we're getting a utility body.
I see,
that
that's
has
gonna
to
be
go
put-
on there, and then that utility body comes through with a primer color.
And they painted
And
the
they
color of
painted
the vehicle.
whatever the.
So it's only primed, it's not even painted?
It's not even painted, it's just
Oh,
primer.
okay.
So the
You have to paint it something.
1,000 is to paint
To paint
paint it to match, whether you had a blue truck, a white truck, a
Right.
black truck,
That's
a
correct.
yellow truck.
Yeah.
These are just questions I see in here. And again, I have no problem with the last one. Again, we keep them all open, and if councilors have any questions, I will set a public hearing for all three of them on the 4th, or on the next meeting, next week for the 4th.
Okay.
And if we have any questions next week, or during the week, you can get to Joe or Karen. And if it's something Joe doesn't have to, you don't have to go back unless you hear.
If it would help, I could be at the meeting next week,
It's 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. I mean, if you're here, I mean, it's...
You always come to the public hearings when it's a
You know,
public
this-
hearing.
He's talking about the review of this.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we'll, I'll get back to you, Joe. Let me see if the counselors...
For his
thing,
convenience,
absolutely.
If we have questions, we should email him and then he'll come. I mean, I would think.
That's what I'm saying, if
Right.
counselors, I mean, I don't
Only
want to
if we
drag it
ask.
back.
I would let you know, and then we could.
Right, if any counselors
sure,
have
yeah.
questions for you, Joe...
So
they'll
Dan will
get-
let you know if we need you.
Right, if not, you don't have to come. If council, there's no reason to come if we don't have any more questions for you, there's no sense for you to come. But I do appreciate the offer.
But Joe always goes to
And you're
the
always
full city
welcome.
council
Right,
public
right.
hearing.
Yeah,
Yeah, he'll be there,
You
definitely
always
the
go to
4th.
those.
absolutely.
The final item tonight is supplemental appropriation for, looks like we're putting in a 12-inch cast iron water main under Ferry Street Bridge.
Yeah. At Ferry Street Bridge, hanging underneath it, we have a 12-inch cast iron water main. And during our inspections, we noticed that some of the bridge hangers have rotted, and in some places that pipe is sagging a little bit. It's actually dripping. We've got to repair that, because one of these days, the pipe hangers are just going to let go, and we're going to lose that. And we're going to end up shutting down that section, which would severely limit water pressure and volume to sections of town, certain sections of town. So the fact that it's a bridge, you have to hire a structural engineer, because anything to do with the bridge has to go through Mass DOT. Mass DOT won't even look at it unless there's a structural engineer that has looked at it, and the design is from a structural engineer. We couldn't just say, hey, let's get some welder in here and hang some brackets there, and we'll put a new pipe and we go. No, they won't allow that. So this is just for the design of
Just for the
that.
study, right, or the design, to
This
design.
payment is just for the design?
That's correct. That's correct.
So, well, my question is, how serious is this? You're just getting a design now.
Right. We're hoping it's gonna hold together for another year so that we can get.
A
the-
year?
Yeah.
But you're saying the pipe is leaking?
It's dripping slowly.
That's scary,
It
too.
is scary. It is scary.
Do you have an estimate, not an estimate, I know that's what the design's for, but I mean a ballpark of what a project like this would cost?
It could be 250,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it could be 250,000 to replace that pipe.
What's the status of the bridge itself?
Well, that's what the structural engineer is gonna tell us, whether it would be, whether we can, the bridge is solid enough to hang something underneath it, or sometimes you see these pipes that come up out of the ground and along the bridge, and it goes back down and they're covered with insulation, or they'll tell, the design will tell us if, no, we just need to come up over it all and then go back down and leave the bridge alone, but we won't know that till the structural engineer tells us that.
If he goes in and looks at it and says, you got a serious problem, can you do a stopgap measure on it if you have to? I mean, what if the damn thing breaks?
If the thing breaks, we'll have to isolate it, and if...
Somebody's not having water.
Well,
Water would come in from the other side.
water could come in from the other side, but what would happen is that you might restrict fire flow. So what we'd have to do is run temporary pipes over the bridge to get that water moving.
So what my question is, the structural engineer may be able to not only design, but can he give you condition of current
Oh,
status?
yeah,
He'll be able to say, look, you got to really, the rust is just about done. You're-
Yes, you're right.
So then, therefore, if you know you need to do something stopgap before you get the final, you'll know right away.
That's right.
Okay. And then you may have to come to us for funding for that, because to me, this sounds serious. It sounds like something we may have
Well,
to
it is. We-
deal with sooner.
We
than
happened to
later.
find it during one of our routine inspections, so it was like, oh geez, we didn't notice this.
It would end up being another capital request to
Right.
me,
Mhm.
and that was something I would
I
put forth.
tried to look under there, Joe, but I thought I might end up in Lower Mill Pond, because you kind of have to get out there and look down, and there was a little debris there, so I think I've gone far enough. Just two questions on, and this may be you or the other side of the city. Is there a reason for the extra 1,000? Because it looks like their estimate was 66.8, and you're asking for 68, as opposed to 67. So
Well,
I didn't know why the extra 1,000. And number two, do we have to put, and this is maybe from Melissa, do these go out to bid, or is this a company specializing in this? Or you get what I'm saying? I know design is a little different. Melissa, you can explain that.
Designed for 3839M, which is most
Horizontal.
construction. Design work is exempt from
the competitive bidding.
We picked an engineering firm that was more skilled than somebody else in structural bridges, because
That's what this is.
that's what this is. You can go to any engineering firm and they can design you a water main going down the street, but when it comes to going under a bridge, even they would need to go to somebody different. So that's where we went to in the first place. Okay.
And how about the 1,000? Is
And
that
I'm
just
not-
is this just an oversight? I mean, can we get 67, or do we need the 68, I guess is the
Yeah,
question.
I requested the 68, figuring that, usually we round them off,
I see.
so,
The proposal he gave us was just a proposal. We don't have a contract with them. When the money's available, then we'll sit down with them and say, okay, give us a contract,
Because it might come in even less.
and it might come either.
So, and
That would
then the
be
money
great.
doesn't get lost.
No.
It
It's gonna go back to the-
city. It's a
Yeah.
capital project.
And it goes
so-
back to, it would go back
we'll
to
go back to where
Enterprise.
enterprise.
So it's not
which
like,
would be-
it's not like, they're.
It's
gonna
going
spend-
away, right? No, I realize that. And then the other, and maybe you know this, or what's I was looking at the contract a little, and there is under resident observation services, 11,800. What's that?
Well,
I mean, do
resident,
they hire a resident to look at it? I mean, in January,
I'll volunteer.
in January, I'm free if you
You were
if
under
you
the
need.
bridge already.
That's
Maybe
right.
you can- maybe
Can
that's what they
can I
saw.
tap into this?
Maybe they saw you under
they're
there.
using a different term there. Usually it's called a resident engineer. Someone, a resident engineer is on site when the construction company.
I see, to make sure they're-
To make sure it's done right.
I see.
So something like this, you want a resident engineer. You don't want somebody to come in, inspect it Monday mornings, Wednesday afternoon, and
No.
Friday afternoons. No, you want somebody.
Somebody that's there constantly while they're doing it.
Constant on-site engineer wouldn't be a better term.
It could, but engineers.
It's just the terminology, resident observation services, I'm saying is that, if you're just gonna hire a resident to keep an eye on them or see what hours they're working, or...
Well, I bet you there'd be some volunteers.
Rates of
involved.
$90 an hour for 120 hours.
It's pretty good.
Still less than what plumbers get.
I'd say it's really.
Which plumber are you using?
I don't know, even you bring
Have you
your...
used anything?
Yeah, I use
That's about what you get in a car dealership today. If you were to look at what they post on the wall for hours, it's about 90 or something. Okay, I guess again, this one, with this, Karen, it's a supplemental appropriation, so it's gonna need a
Has to have a
public...
public hearing.
So we'll set up public, we'll do the same as we did with all, we'll keep it open, and if anyone has any questions for Joe over the next couple of weeks, they'll get to Joe, and if you need them back here, let me know and I'll get to Joe. And otherwise, I'll set a public hearing for November 4th at the next council meeting, and you can take all four of them up at the fourth meeting on the 4th.
That'd be great.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for being here.
So the animal thing we're gonna hold.
The animal thing, we're gonna hold
Right.
off,
And
that's
just to let you
something...
know, it without a doubt, it was a trust. It's a trust. It's it's the one page. You have a copy of it. It's a one-page
Right,
trust
that's
created by town meeting. So the request that went to our city attorney is, obviously, it's a trust. It's was established by town meeting. It's got Board of Selectmen all over it. How do we tweak it? How do we make changes to it? So
So
just.
Jack's gonna get back with...
Yeah. So, but
Just so it's
there's
in
not
line
a question of what it is.
No, I realize that, it's just a
Yeah.
question of how we word that document
It's
to make it...
a question of how, it mentions all over it that the Board of Selectmen, can make changes to it or whatever. He probably might suggest that we just ask Dr. Hayden, who's the one that initiated the trust. But, how would we do it? What if there's something we can't change, something we can change? It's just better to get an opinion.
Nope.
you
Oh,
know?
absolutely.
It's just better to, typically Board of Selectmen would be me, but it just doesn't matter. It's just better to get an
Right.
opinion. So if we're going to try to tweak something, change it, make sure that it's something we can do and do it right.
Okay, sounds good. Do you know offhand if you're gonna have anything more for the council?
I am.
Okay, so,
I wasn't going to bring
so
that
we
up.
probably will
He's trying to
definitely,
get out of it because he's retiring from the council.
so we probably will definitely need this
Yeah,
up
you're going to
October
have-
28th meeting.
You're going to have, yes, you're going to have some more capital requests.
We need it because we
in
have.
front of
These
we
are,
need
these
it.
are.
I can, if you want to sneak preview, one of them you're going to like, It'll be putting, money into the capital
Capital
stabilization. But you're going to have probably a couple more requests.
Can you put the free cash certification in boxes along with?
Sure,
Once we
well,
get
well, I wrote I had to write myself a note.
Okay,
I wrote
fine. Yeah,
it
I
down.
just was curious
I wrote
what
it
we
down,
got.
sure.
Okay.
If I don't write it down.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.